Welcome to Living in Music, Wisdom Worth Sharing, brought to you by members of the New York chapter of the Recording Academy for the day that music cares. Hosted by the New School.
When I started the label in 2008, I had been doing it for 2 weeks, and some dude came strolling down the hall, and he kind of popped his head into my office and said, "Hey, Goldie, what are you doing here?" And I said, "I just started a label 2 weeks ago. I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no roster, and we're just getting going." He said, "It's Jay." And he said, "You're always so polite, when you called," and it was really appreciated because there were so many people that just wouldn't stop to sort of pause and take the time of day. He said, "If I can ever help you, please let me know." So he handed me a card. I put it in my pocket. About 45 minutes later, I looked at it, and it said, Jay Lepus, head of iTunes.
Yeah.
Used to be an assistant, helped us launch the label, put our records everywhere, and basically helped us start the label. And the long and short of it is that it's those relationships that you want to maintain along the way, because everyone will end up somewhere interesting, and sometimes you will end up really benefiting from the fact that you take the approach that you're in it for the long haul, and meeting somebody that might be helping out at even an event like this will be growing and becoming a force. So that's what I took from that.
So if you were to pull aside young Mia at the beginning of Mia's career, and you were to lovingly say to Mia, "Mia, I have a piece of advice for you that is going to help you," what would that be?
So I would say to her, so that having a noisy mind can get in the way of creating, or it can make us put a third eye upon ourselves as we create. And what I would say to her is, quiet your mind, restore order, and you're allowed to feel joy and comfort as you create whatever it is you want to create, and definitely do it. Don't try to be someone over there that's already a famous person, and there's myriad people we could name, but don't try to imitate a famous person. Just do what it is you do, and do it with joy. And also make sure that you do it from a place of honesty to yourself, so that whatever you put out there is something that people may wish to hear, but it's important that you put out what you really are, because we already have all these other things that you should not imitate. And also, I would just say everything will work out, and you just have to trust that it's so.
Oh, I love that. If you were able to have the chance to talk to young Tracey and to say, "Tracey, you have an incredible career ahead of yourself. Here's something I'd love for you to know at the beginning."
I think the thing that I would tell myself is, as a person who loves and thrives on artist development, to never judge a book by its cover, and that packaging an artist is everything. You have to remain true to their self, but an example of that would be Boys to Men. We were in Jamaica doing a special for BET Networks, Soul by the Sea, and Michael Bivins, who ran up to me, and he was like, "Yo, Trey, you gotta come hear my guys sing. You gotta come hear them sing." So I went over, and I was in the middle of production, so I was like a little bit, harried. And I came over, they were all around the piano, and Boys to Men started singing. And I looked at them, and they had on every neon color in the rainbow suits with rhinestones embedded into them. And these shoes, I don't even want to go there. And I said to myself, "Oh God, this is what Gerald Busby signed. What are we going to do with this?" But I listened to them sing, and I was like, wow, they really sound amazing. And I looked at Michael, and I was like, "They're really good, but you got to do something about that image, because that ain't working." And Bivins went back, and he dressed them in Argyle socks and vests, and he called it the Alexander Vanderpool era. after a character on like General Hospital or something like that, and gave Boys to Men a look that was completely different than the gangster rap that was like out there and happening in R&B and in hip hop, and came back with this image for them that was just phenomenal. Packaging is everything. If the raw talent is there and the vocals are there and the musicianship is there, you have to sit with the artist and figure out what image makes them comfortable. Who are they? And dress them and style them accordingly.
Amazing. Amazing. I love that. Don't judge a book by its cover, because the cover can be changed.
Exactly.
Or if you were to meet young Ben, and Ben's beginning his career in music, there's a great career coming, and there's going to be things he's going to need to know, and you already know them. What one piece are you going to give him?
I think the thing I would focus on is self-care and preparing myself for the life of an artist, which is full of ups and downs, highs and lows. And I don't think anyone told me that when I was a kid, and that like some years are going to be great, some are going to be awful. There's going to be times when you have no work, then there's going to be times when you have way too much work. And how do you manage all that and keep yourself emotionally regulated? But I'd also probably tell myself to define success in multiple ways, because making money is one thing, and that is definitely one measure of success, but there's lots of other measures of success too, like the art you're making, first of all. And that is not related to money, so it's like, kind of have to I would probably remind myself that as an artist, what you're in is just not a business. Like, as an artist, you're there to create something that will evoke emotion in other people, and that is just unrelated to making money in my mind. I think I would also tell myself that I should practice on more. That everyone you hear out there who's like, you love, they practice their,
That's true.
You know, I would have practiced more had I really known that and just didn't tell myself, oh, it's just going to work out. Because the other thing I'd probably tell myself is be organized and deliberate.
Yeah.
And to really, you know, not just go with the flow so much. There's really, being deliberate and organized is not always a quality that artists have. So it's really important, because even when you have a manager, you still are managing yourself. Even when you have people around you, if you don't keep on top of everything, nothing's going to happen. That's been my experience anyway. You know, when you find those right people, stick with them and make that a partnership, but, you know, be ready to depend on yourself.
I love that. If you were to take young Lee aside, young Lee has just gotten her degree in English literature, and she's looking at the vast expanse of life ahead. And you know, for having being Lee of now, all that has transpired, and you want to give one piece of advice to young Lee, what would it be?
The thing is, don't be afraid of failure. Luck and timing it's a great sort of compliment to the talent and the readiness that you have, you know, and sometimes it works against you, sometimes doesn't. But for me, finding myself in a position where there were a lot of senior people around me and a lot of really experienced executives and great mentors, that was a lot of pressure to succeed, a lot of pressure to be right all the time. And when you're an A&R person, you sort of live and die by those decisions. And to something Tracey was saying before, like, I've always had a heart for artist development. So my gut wants to do things, and I see things sort of further along than they might be. So that's a lot of risk. And as an A&R person, you take a lot of risks. That's, you know, the bigger the risk, the bigger reward, but also the more likely you're going to fail along the way. And I don't think anyone goes through a career without failures of all sorts, sometimes minor, sometimes really significant, losing jobs, you know, and the first time I lost a job, I hadn't really gotten my sea legs. I hadn't had the confidence yet of being sort of a successful executive. So I think at that point in time, if I had just sort of taken a step back to say, It's okay. I know what I'm doing. I'm smart. I'm capable. I'm going to work hard. My gut tells me things, and I do listen to my gut. That's a big part of, also sort of being an artist development-minded executive is really trusting your gut. Even with all of that, I'm going to be wrong, and I'm going to fail at something, or I'm going to sign an artist that doesn't succeed in the way that I thought. Don't be afraid of that, and don't be afraid to make decisions because of the fear of failure. Because I think if you make a decision out of fear, you're probably going to compromise what your gut is telling you. And you're going to make a decision that you either think other people want you to make or that you think people want to hear versus what your gut is telling you. So maybe it's a combination. Don't be afraid of failure, but also trust your gut. Because if your inner voice is telling you something, you should listen. And then if you fail, I've probably learned more from the times that things haven't worked out, or the times I've made a decision that didn't materialize in the way I envisioned it, then when things happen and you have a successful outcome, you're not likely to take that moment to reflect, why did it all work, as much as you might take that moment when you fail or when something goes wrong to say, why didn't this work? And that's something I didn't really start understanding until sort of midway through my career, where when something really big didn't work out, well, why is that? Okay, don't do that again. What can we do to mitigate that from happening, and what can I learn from this experience? And whether it's losing a job or making a decision that doesn't pan out, I think if you're fearful of the outcome, if you're fearful of either being wrong, failing, or losing a job along the way, you're not going to be true to yourself. You're not going to be true to what your gut is telling you, and you're probably more likely to make the wrong decision. So yeah, don't be afraid to fail.
I love that. That's powerful. There's so many things I'd love to tell younger Monika, but one of the things that I would tell her is, you know who you are. Don't always listen to everybody's opinion about what you should do. Because I listened to a lot of opinions. I'm someone who I love it when everybody's happy. When there's a win-win, I'm the happiest person. And that's always what I'm trying to do, always trying to make everybody happy. And I like that about myself. However, when making my art, I used to run things like a democracy when I was the boss. And I have learned over the years to be the boss. It's not a democracy. I mean, I want you to be happy, but ultimately I'm the boss, And so that was a lot of learning for me. But I would tell younger me that for sure. Just be the boss, keep being kind, keep making people happy, but when the time comes, you make the decision.